And here we go. Welcome everyone to our crowdcast series by UFOstart. I welcome all of you guests, and give me 1 second because I hear myself all of a sudden. That is not planned. Why is this happening? I am being muted. No, so this is unexpected. I cannot talk like this. Give me 1 minute. I'll log in and out.
So maybe this is just, time to tell some jokes. Maybe Tim Brückmann, you're the first. To bridge the time. Maybe a good joke.
The best.
Like an identity joke or something.
You're muted.
Is this part of the joke that you are muted, Tim?
It's part of the privacy part of the presentation is that we're speaking, but you can't hear us.
Yes, privacy is very important in digital identity. So we, see the solution in that you cannot read what we write, you cannot hear what we say. And so the next stage is that we turn off the cameras. So you can also not see us. I hope that Mario is back soon. Welcome, audience. Happy that you are there. I'm seeing that 78 people have registered. We have prepared a great crowdcast for all. So we are live here from Düsseldorf, from Vienna, from Berlin, and I'm very happy to see so many people from all over the world joining us today. So Mario's back now.
Yes, maybe we have another try. No, I am still stuck in a loop here. Maybe you guys can start introducing yourself, and I'll try to figure this out with Basti.
You want to introduce yourself, Tim? Tim and Tim start, and then how do you want to do it?
Yes, that's a very good idea. Maybe Tim Brückmann may start, and then we go followed by Michael Shea, Marco Sabadello, and then by me. Tim, can you hear us? Otherwise, I will just start because you are muted. Okay, so Tim is muted, and maybe he can hear us or not. So I will just start. So we have 3 in the audience. So maybe 5 minutes later, it will just be Marcus and me or whatever. So my name is Tim Heidfeld. I'm the CEO and co-founder of IAMX.id. I have a second venture called handy.de. This is a German e-commerce website where we are selling mobile phone contracts online. Before this time, I was the founder of Preis24.de together with Konstantin Sixt, and we have sold this to ProSiebenSat.1, the German TV broadcasting group. Before this time, I had my own consulting company, consulting in the area of customer acquisition in the internet. I had mainly blue chips as my first customers. And before this time, I was within the Scout24 group. I was the chief controller there and later the CFO of Finance Scout24. This was in the area of the private private equity of Professor Beisheim, the Metro founder, and we developed certain electronic marketplaces and sold this to T-Online, Deutsche Telekom. Before this time, I was at the German Stock Exchange at the New Market, did several IPOs and international roadshows. And from my academic background, I'm a certified European financial analyst.
Okay, here we try again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great.
Loud
I cannot
and
hear
clearly.
myself anymore. Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks for jumping into the introduction, Tim. So yes, basically, starting back over, welcome to the crowd. Welcome to all the guests. I think we have to catch up a little bit since we're here today with a really interesting panel of people about around the topic of self-sovereign identity and own your own identity as the headline of our crowdcast. So that being said, Tim Heidfeld already out of the way basically in the beginning. We move on with our second guest, and you know him really well, which is Tim Brückmann. Tim Brückmann, co-founder also of IAMX and CMO, has a big passion for decentralized identity and self-sovereign identity. Is also running a Cardano staking pool, Stake for Future, and most famously in this channel at least, is also an ambassador for UFOstart.
Yes.
Hi, Tim. Moving on, we have Marcos Sabarello, who is a CEO of Danupitech and basically pioneer in the field of privacy and digital identity as a whole, working for many years, also on solutions for the decentralized internet, so more on the tech side of life. Also serves as a chair of a DID, Identifier and Discovery working group. And last but not least of our lovely panel is Michael. No, I already have it wrong. Please enlighten us all. What's the right pronunciation? I'm sorry.
Shay.
Shay. It looks simple and sounds simple, but yeah, somehow mix it up. Okay, Michael Shay is managing director of the Dingle Group, and also again a very experienced entrepreneur with 30 years of experience in on all sides, ranging from the technical to the business development and business side. Founder of the Vienna Digital Identity Meetup, and also chair of the SSI and IoT working group for sovereign foundation and trust. So that being said and out of the way, and we know our amazing panel, we're very much looking forward to dive into the topic, which is there's no shortage of things to talk about. As every one of you knows, of your listeners that came here repeatedly, is we share one fun fact about ourselves in the very beginning before jumping in, and this is kind of the time. So before you give like 1 minute each of you, like a little self-introduction, also like additional information, I would like you to start with a fun fact about yourself. As we try to be leading by example, I go first, and for me it would be, I think I didn't share this yet, one morning on a hunch, I woke up and thought it would be interesting and valuable to know how my face looks with a shaved head. So I clean shaved my head to know if it ever ends, the hair and all, how it looks like. So that being said, I move the ball to Tim Heidfeld.
My hidden wish or goal was always, I like comedy, and I cannot tell jokes, but I am really good in, spontaneous humor. So one of my goals in my life, and I really have to do this before I'm not here anymore, is I would like to be on the stage before the real good comedian comes on, and I would like to do this in front of the biggest audience that is possible, because sometimes when I'm in a good mood, I can be very funny. So maybe sometime when you are at a funny show, you might see me there. So this is one of, like, you know, my bucket goals that I still have to do.
Fantastic. Actually, I think we should talk after the crowdcast. We have some overlap here. Okay, maybe we go like this. You start with the fun fact, and then have your no, you did your self intro already, obviously. So we moved on to Michael, please.
Yeah, you sort of stole my thunder on my fun fact, of the fact that while my last name is only 4 letters, and I grew up in Canada, it was still pronounced wrong. It's still pronounced wrong at least 50% of the time. Here in Vienna, it's much, much higher. It's Shia, it's she. I've long ago stopped worrying about how people pronounce last name. So then do a little self-intro.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So just to go a little bit over what Mario talked, as I mentioned, originally from Canada. I've worked in, started my technology career in embedded systems and real-time automation, moved to enterprise architecture, then running consulting agency inside a Fortune 500 enterprise software company. Moved to Vienna in 2015 and been part of the decentralized Web3 world, was part of an ICO back then, but really have been focused on identity, decentralized identity, self-sovereign identity since about 2017, 2018. As Mario mentioned, I started the Vienna Digital Identity Meetup, which is starting its 4th year. For our kickoff event for the year was yesterday, around identity and the supply chain. So, fairly.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully that works.
Great. Thank you very much. That being said, we throw the ball over to Marcus.
Yes, thank you. As a fun fact, I can share that when I got married, I had a wonderful wedding ceremony in a beautiful old church, and the ceremony was conducted in a language that I didn't understand. The priest was there. He stood in front of me, looked at me, gave a long speech, told me a lot of important things apparently, and then I just said, I agree, of course, yes, but I'm still trying to find out what it is that I was agreeing to at that point. At some point, I hope to find out. And introduction, I've been working on digital identity for a really long time, so I'm a technical person. Basically, I've worked on a lot of technical protocols, architectures, data models, ideas that I'll have to do somehow with digital identity for over 15 years. I'm founder of Danube Tech, so we are a company here in Vienna that focuses specifically on decentralized identity, and I'm quite involved in a lot of communities and working groups and so on that are trying to build the technical foundations for decentralized identity or SSI, self-sovereign identity. And I used to travel a lot, used to go to a lot of conferences and know a lot of people such as Michael and Tim. And it's nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Great, thanks. It's a pleasure to have you. And last but not least, our very own UFOstart ambassador Tim. Let us know about some fun facts.
Yes,
the air is getting thin for you too, I know.
Yes, you know me quite a while also, Marcus and Mario. You know me quite a while, and the fun fact about me is there is nothing funny on me. Yeah, extremely not. I'm not a funny person. Okay, that's a fun fact. I had so much fun. I love to be here. I'm an ambassador for UFOstart, as I love the whole team. Thank you for setting up this as well. And sorry for the small start problems, but sometimes that happens. I'm sitting here like a little bit, I shouldn't tell too much because there are 2 people here in this audience, in the panel. It's Michael and Marcus. I know my SSI from. So I'm a user of what they wrote and what they hopefully will write in the future. They are, for me, in a young language. They're the OGs of SSI. It's my impression, and I'm very thankful to be on the panel with them. My background is telecommunication, and to dive into our panel discussion, we found out, Tim and me, we founded a mobile telecommunication company, and we found out that there is a kind of fraud. So we market the contracts that we like to sell, and felt that we didn't get much money in return. So, and we see some contracts were not commissioned to us because they are fraud. It's never payers. It's people who call their own service number but don't pay their invoices. It's a lot of fraud. 3 big topics.
So you had your own little, introduction into the whole topic. Like, what is the problem at all, right? What are we talking about? Why do we need this? What is what is important of it? So maybe that's a good point to lead over to actually our first, let's say, point on the agenda and on the topic is giving for the audience like a little bit of an overview. Tim B. Like an intro on own your identity and our whole topic. Who are the players involved? What's the problem, solution? Give us a little bit of the, some flesh to what is the bone, right? That we can flesh out later on.
Yes, it's we found out the problem from the real world, as we have been playing around with blockchain and building on blockchain, especially Cardano. We thought that we have to take this problem we have to a blockchain solution, because we found out there is a solution. There are very smart guys in the world from a lot of big consulting companies. They wrote a lot of papers. We put them all together and put our problem through it. And the basis of SSI is that you have 3 parties. It's the holder, the agent, and the verifier. So the holder is more the customer, that's you and me. The agent is like in our example, a telecommunication company, and the verifier is e-commerce, obligation, or banks. This is what is the 3 points of where we play with. And the holder, like you and me, we have 400 days of our lifetime we spend filling out KYC process or contracts. We sit on our computer and key them in again and again and again, and it's 400 days. So I think these 400 days we can use different. And the solution is that you can also have everything stored on a cryptographic wallet, like what the blockchain offers you. We do it with a plugin to say it's something you have in your browser. We install, your data are locked there very privately in a SSI way, and the end user can use it with 1 click. He can rent a car with 1 click. He can fly. He can book his flight. You don't have to put in his name and everything again. On the other side, also you have e-commerce offers where you just like to perhaps buy a bottle of nice wine. In Germany, you have to prove that you are 18, and that's enough. Why? They should know my eye colors, how high I am, and so upload my whole ID. We offer parts of our identity where this is needed, and this is I think in a nutshell, the concept we follow. This is for the user. Markus and Michael can go deeper in the scientific way.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Very interesting point of angle to come from. Absolutely, you're saving basically lifetime, right? We think about how can we prolong our life, and all these things. Here is absolutely one way to do it. Very interesting. I would have not guessed we spend so much time filling these in. Maybe this now opening up to the whole panel. How did you where do you encounter a problem in this area with identity and also our new digital identities in your daily life?
Yeah, the KYC process from our partners in telecommunication are really high. So this is something we can lower. So to give the cost from telecommunication company, we can lower, and also cost of all other companies which use a KYC. We also, on the other side, can, you can order much fast. So usually the e-commerce systems, the platform, have a higher conversion rate. So the people are, like to order the product. For me, an easy example is if you scroll down in your mobile phone and you find a nice article you like to read. You like to read it, you read 3 sides, and then they write, okay, make an abonnement. Pay the next month and you get it free. But I like to read just this article. So let's think about a payment method just for this. And this is also possible with our system, that you don't have to make it, you can choose your small things. This is what we like to go in. So you put 10 cents per page, and yeah, let's go for it. And the more you scroll, it will be paid.
Okay, understood. Thanks for your basically interfacing with this problem. How about you guys, the others? Maybe Michael, where do you see kind of the in everyday life, like a need for a new solution?
I think really what it is that right now within the identity space, we all know the challenges of having, hundreds potentially of user IDs and passwords for accessing sites or systems, in our daily lives. And particularly if convenience is a large driving factor in your life, which for a very large segment of the population it is, and you use capabilities like log with Google or log in with Facebook, are actually creating a data trail of everything everywhere you go. And so really the whole concepts behind the self-sovereign identity is to shift that control and ownership back away from the federated identity providers back to the individual, to do things like the removal of passwords, where you're logging using credentials to log in. So I think that's from a daily existence, that's really where people are, where this makes sense. So.
Great, thanks for your view on it. Just to have one more, to gain a little bit deeper understanding, because things like that were around before, right? Where you can reuse kind of your the data that you enter. Where does the blockchain come into this? Like, what is the how does it click with the blockchain topic?
I mean, I think that with the blockchain, the key part is the anchoring of some of the what's called the decentralized identifiers, and this is where there's many different ways, and it's not necessarily an individual who anchors their identifier to the chain, but possibly all the organizations that they're working with or interacting with. There are challenges about putting personal information, and a personal DID is considered personal information. So putting it on a blockchain is also something that has to be done with great reflection and understanding of what you're actually doing. There are always cases where you may want that for other very specific reasons, and there's other cases where you do not want that.
Okay, understood. Maybe so just a reminder for the audience in between, if you have questions, please put them in the chat or directly in the questions section, and we will come back to them at the end in a little Q&A. Okay, thank you very much for your opinion here. Maybe also, Michael, you can elaborate a little bit on what kind of business value you see unlocked with digital identity systems.
Yeah, I think that really what's different, I mean, for those, someone like Marcus, who has been in this identity sector for probably just as long, almost as long as it's existed, this turn of the identity wheel, if that's the technology wheel that keeps on turning, it covers the personal identity, but it also covers very effectively organizational and identities of things. So when you start looking at business values as to why does DIDs and credentials, or what's otherwise known as SSI, create value, is that the data models, the cryptographic data models of the verifiable credentials, provide a mechanism to have cryptographically verifiable data, which that doesn't really exist with the previous types of technology. And that then gives, from a business value, the assurance. So you're now having a high assurance data attributes that can be selectively provided by the individual. So things like what is termed jargon within the sector, like selective disclosure, where you ask for certain information, but I may only, I supply the information to you. It's not a case of, like it's always been on many site enrollments, here, give me all your information. It's no, what do you actually need with the data minimization?
Yeah. It's like the person at the bar, right? You need to know, or at the somewhere you need to know, that I'm 18, that or however old in the jurisdiction, but you don't need to know where I live, how tall I am.
Yep, yeah, all of that. So, and that's through that's what the verifiable credentials and the use of things like selective disclosure or zero knowledge proofs allowed those capabilities there. It also, but as I said, so there's huge impact. Tim has touched on KYCs, the ability to reuse a KYC certification. KYC process costs anywhere between $10 and $50 per KYC. Once you have that level of assurance around an identity credential, that effectively brings it down to cents. And so when you say from a business value, it really requires working with people to start thinking in a very different way. KYC is only done now because there are regulatory requirements that say KYC must be done. A business doesn't just decide they're going to do a KYC operation because it's a very expensive proposition. With the high assurance credential that comes, or that can come, that changes. So.
Okay, so in let's say when thinking about the business value for which types of businesses, then would it be in your guess, and I'll also invite obviously all of you to jump in, which types of businesses this is most valuable for, right? So I get there's like a scale topic, right? The more for end consumer kind of businesses, probably with high numbers, or what's your take on this?
So for me, it's like
I cannot hear you.
Tim Brückmann, you are muted. If you have technological problems, maybe Michael, you can just continue. Otherwise, I will jump in.
Yeah, sorry, say that. I missed the question, Mario.
The question was basically which types of businesses do you think this is a new solution is most valuable for in this sense?
It's really going. It's not targeted to a specific, in a sense that it from an individual standpoint. You look at something like in the European Union, the next generation of EIDAS. SSI is only called out once explicitly called out once in the regulation, is all through the terminology that's in that. So, and this is around the European digital ID, right? The EID that's coming up. It's from an individual standpoint, it's everywhere. It is the potential. What go into other areas like organizations and businesses, it starts to ripple out or go out in ways that we can't, unless you're in industries like dealing with supply chains. It's going right through the supply chains and having huge impact there as well. So it has very, very broad impacts.
Thanks. Maybe Tim, you wanted to add something?
Yes, two things. Number one is from our personal view. So we have 92 people in here right now, and my name is Tim. We have Michael here and Markus and Mario and Tim Brückmann. Just think how often you have typed in not your name, but your address and all those things before. And this is just, just a big benefit, like Tim Brückmann said before, when you have done this so often. And we calculated that you will do it like 400 days in your life, meaning 24 hours, that you just can get rid of this. Building the bridge now to what does it mean, for other business cases for verifiers. For the last 15 years, with a really hardcore focus, my job was, to increase the conversion rate. This means how many customers do you need to get a contract or whatever, or to get an application. And even, the fact when you ask for the passport number or you don't, has such a significant effect on the conversion rate. Like you need 45 visitors for one application, or you need 80 or whatever. So the significance of, reducing this to getting the help to fill in forms, and not to do this ident and know your customer process for the tenth or number n time in your life, is such a big impact also for the verifiers, because when you reduce the amounts of fields, you increase the conversion rate. And what you usually have is you have to look at it like a balanced model. What does it mean, a balanced model? Usually on the revenue side, we get a revenue per transaction commission. But on the buy side regarding traffic, you don't get a buy the traffic only pay when you have a revenue, but you pay per CPM. So when you do the marketing for 1,000 customers, or you pay for cost per click or whatever. So this imbalance, is really, really hard to manage. And, just adding this solution for a verifier increases the conversion rate very, very strongly. So I'm just, trying to stress the importance of every e-commerce model. And, maybe you cannot understand what I'm saying, but if you would note, just for the next 48 hours, take down notes how often you type in your name, how often you type in your password. Ask yourself why you choose Amazon and why not. And then you basically come to the conclusion that something, where you own your identity and where you control it, and where you can prove it to anybody that you decide that you would like to prove it in a form of selective disclosure, not prove anything, just the topics that are needed. I think there it's very clear how strong the impact is for you, for us, but also for the monetization for verifiers, but also for the people that are onboarding them.
Thanks a lot for the view, and I think we could go in depth, probably have a whole crowdcast about that on its own. But moving on a little bit towards the technical side, and Markus, your opinion is very much appreciated here. Is kind of what would you say are the main properties of SSI technologies that matter for a bit from a kind of business, political, and social perspective?
Yeah, I will actually start with something that I wanted to say at the end as a conclusion, but it actually fits quite nicely after what we've just heard. So we heard about quite a lot of advantages that these new technologies have, and both for businesses and individuals, right? On one hand, I can have better KYC, higher conversion rates. We've heard all of these things, and at the same time, we also heard as an individual, I can save time, I can have more control, and I can have more privacy. And I think one interesting aspect of these technologies is that they can enable both at the same time. And I've worked on digital identity technologies for a really long time, and historically this has often been seen as an antagonistic relationship, right? On one side you have the companies, and they want to collect more and more data about you so that they can sell it, and on the other side you have individuals who want to protect themselves from those evil companies and protect their privacy and so on. And I think one thing we see as a consequence of some of these new decentralized identity technologies is that you can sort of have both at the same time. On one hand, as an individual, I can have more control and more privacy, and on the other hand, it also makes it easier to interact with businesses and to conduct business transactions. But yes, I actually wanted to say this as a conclusion. So I'll say a few more things maybe about yes, the technologies themselves that we see emerging right now, and their properties, and what consequences and what opportunities they have. And I think to understand that, it's maybe helpful to consider that some of these ideas of being in control of who I am online, of what I share, are not that new, right? So some people have been working on ideas and technical protocols and architectures for over 15 years, more than quite a long time. Back then there were ideas such as a federated social web, right? Can we have a decentralized social web or social network that's not dependent on one single Facebook? These some of these early ideas were motivated by not by an intention to change everything or to have a revolution, but the motivation was really to go back to a natural state of how identity should work, right? At that point early on, we started to realize that the centralized architectures that we see with Facebook and Google and Apple and all of them controlling my data, that this is not how we would want identity to work, because it's not natural, right? We heard about surveillance capitalism. We heard data is the new oil of the 21st century. We heard that on Facebook we're not the customer, we're the product. We heard about the mass surveillance conducted by NSA, and we sometimes used strong metaphors for that, right? To compare what was happening in the digital world with the real world, and we used terms such as digital slavery and digital enlightenment that we wanted to achieve. And people realized also that technology plays an important part in achieving certain ideals, right? A lot of people think technology is neutral and you can do good things or bad things with it, but that's not really true. Technology always has certain built-in values, and some technologies, like, I don't know, login with Facebook, they have potential for controlling your lives online. They have potential for digital slavery and mass surveillance and all of that. And so the idea of what's really happening right now with the self-sovereign identity movement is to try to build technologies that are more in line with how identity works in the real world, right? Who I am is something that is decentralized. Who I am and how I present myself, that's something that comes from me and is not something that is given to me by Facebook or Google. So this idea that the act of establishing a digital identity online is something that I should be able to do by myself, right? To get a digital identity is not done by registering at a service. It's done by something that I can do on my own using technologies such as cryptography and blockchain and other things. And that's how we started to design, technologies such as decentralized identifiers and verifiable credentials. And if you look at them more more closely, you'll see that there's no central authority that's built into these things.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
this is the whole
ask,
interesting point, and maybe Tim, you can also answer. Please jump in and just.
yes, I like
well,
so
if
much.
give me 1 minute. If we go into if we're in this kind of business impact that we're having, and Tim, your also opinion is very much appreciated. How, let's say, the shift is happening, right? The data, I only give the data that I want and is actually needed for a certain service. How do you believe do the business models of companies have to change in a way that if we heard from you that data is kind of the new oil, and this is what's being monetized on and investigated. How do business models have to change accordingly?
Maybe I may take this. The good thing is that they do not need to change. So I think whenever you are judging data in our industry, referred to as verifiable credentials, how we do it, we refer to them as verifiable credential set containers. They're like, tailor-made for the industry that needs to process a certain amount of attributes. So what are attributes? Like Tim, Heidfeld, street, number, where does he live? And depending on the business model and the evolution, the more complex it gets, the higher the amount of attributes that you need to check. So the solution has two good things. Number one, it gives the complete ownership and also the complete control in the hands of the holder. This is the customers, you, me, Mario, Marcus, Tim, everybody is on the call and that is listening. So you will very, very soon own this data, and it's not stored in any databases anymore where you do not know what's happening with this. And maybe this, you set up a new email, you order something, and 3 days later your spam is already 20 emails from you are offering, you get offered strange stuff. So this will not happen then anymore. The good thing also for the verifiers, meaning all the interactors that are willing to take your data, to process the data, and to verify your data, is that this model enables them to rely basically on this pre-authenticated data that has been checked before. Therefore, the good thing is that, and Mario's question was, how does it change how the verifiers interact? It doesn't change. They can do the same thing like before. You can either rely fully on those so-called smart contracts, but this will never happen on the first day. So we will build bridges with so-called, rules engines that, translate real world to chain world. But the good outcome is that it works in a simple way. It works fast. It works independent whether we are online or not. So we are referring to so-called asynchronous workflows. And we also reduce costs. And reducing costs is good for the verifier, but it's even better for us, for the holders, using this new technology, because based on all the discussions that we had so far, this will result for everybody using this new technology in reduced prices. I don't know whether this fully answers your question, Mario.
Yes, thanks. That answers it partially, but I would love to go deeper into it. But as we are approaching already our official kind of almost end time of the crowdcast, and we can go, we usually go a little bit over, but we do still have two important kind of topics coming up, and we also want to interact with the audience a little bit. So if okay with with all of you guests, if we can go a little bit longer. In order to engage with the audience afterwards, that would be great. Is everyone on board? Great. All right.
Only we can say yes, so we say yes.
What is
yes.
missing in the discussion about identity is that a lot of people forget that some people don't even have an identity. I think this is also a topic where people have to think about. We know from telecommunication, for example, that there are states in Africa where 11 people share one SIM card. It's not because they are too poor. It's just because out of 11, 10 don't have an identity. They can not book. They cannot buy. They can show their assets,
who they are, what they are. And this is something to go now a little bit from the commercial view. This is a social view. This is a very, very important view. And this is what I love with Marco's attitude, that for sure, I think it's a revolution. It should be a revolution. We should give people identity, and we should manage our identity ourselves. No matter if you're in Africa or in Europe, it should be something. It's so, you know, everybody is talking about metaverse and all these super nice things will come. Yes, it's very important, or in this world, to know what data you give away and have your own. And I know a lot of people who go with the wrong identity in the web, and most of the crypto guys, you know, have several identities or try to separate it so they cover their assets. But I think, coming back to Africa first, you know, if people have assets in Africa, they have assets. And this is something where a new business will start, you know, giving small credits, small loans to people in Africa after we identified them. We have identified them, document them, and bank them. And then they can be part of our nice developed world. I think that is very important, not to forget this.
Absolutely. Thanks for that different view on the whole topic. I mean, it perfectly leads over to another question that that begs asking is, how do you see mass adoption or mass onboarding going on? Like, how do you envision that? I think this one goes to Tim and Tim.
Yeah, the mass onboarding, like we do it. We cooperate with, or we partner with the telecommunication companies which have authenticated data and use them, give them to the owner, and they can use them. On the other side, we also cooperating with NFT projects, with, you know, coming out of the space, that we can give identity to an NFT, or give an NFT artist the possibility that he is the only guy who can verify that these NFTs are from him and they are, you know, real, like Picasso signs their picture. In the NFT world, there is a policy, but the policy can be set up from everyone. So we approach a different way. It's a terminal we put in Africa and in a lot of cities in the world. The terminal takes your biometric data from your eyes, from your face and your fingerprints, and we sew that together so we can give the first possible identity to unidentified people. They don't have an identity. So we can start somewhere and give them, to help them to recover everything what they never had.
Great. Maybe Tim, anything to add? You were also about to jump in. You're still muted. We cannot hear you.
Maybe I can add a quick thought.
Test 1, 2, 3. Okay, Marcus,
yes,
you can start, of course.
Just one sentence based on what Tim just said. I think in some parts of the world, like in Europe, for example, we tend to be over-identified, right? Too many parties know too much about us, but in other parts of the world, people are under-identified. Not enough people or institutions know enough about you, and both can be a problem.
Interesting. Yeah, so that could also tie back to our last crowdcast, Tim, with Teddy Troops, and maybe sometimes you want to stay more anonymous for various reasons. But yes, Tim.
Yes, I think one of the key things that you need to solve in order to make Web3 decentralized identity, all the advantages that have been mentioned before. The key thing that you need to answer is how to solve customer mass onboarding so that everybody in the audience and everybody in the future has a benefit of this. And thinking of this is, if you look at the industry today, there are many solutions out there, technical solutions, but basically you have to answer the question how you have to run a marketplace. Saying this, I mean, how can you do this kind of customer mass onboarding, people that have decentralized identities that they own and they control, and how and with what kind of verifiers they can interact. And saying this, I'm referring to that the partners that we have chosen are from the telecommunication industry. Why? Because they're in every country in the world, and they usually, on an average, they have about 10 million customers or more per country. And why do we choose them? Because they have already authenticated the customers before. So they have a very, very big asset. This means they have pre-authenticated data. And the goal that we have right now is, to connect them with verifiers, with business cases that make the lives better of people in each country, independent of whether it's the developed countries that we are in, or also the emerging markets that Tim Brückmann described, where you maybe, onboard identities for the first time, like Tim said, 1.4 billion, what's a big number out of 8 billion who have no identity. So they get the identity, they can get a mobile phone contact, why is this important? They can get a microloan, they can get a DeFi, they can prove ownership of certain thing. Without identity, there's no ownership. So this is very, very important. So this is one of the key areas that we are focusing in, is, building a marketplace, not only a technical solution for if there should be a problem, maybe you can use it. We are connecting buyers and sellers with real world business cases so that customers have a real advantage. And also it's good for